Hi there, and welcome to Teacher U's Microsoft Excel tutorial part 3 for Max. In the past two tutorials, we've covered how to organize your data and set up your spreadsheet accordingly, and then we talked about how to summarize your data using filters and formulas. Now that you've summarized your data into different groups of information, now we're going to take a look at how you can share that data in a more clear way using charts and graphs. So the two objectives for this tutorial are, number one, teachers will be able to select and manipulate appropriate data that they would like displayed in a chart. And number two, teachers will be able to create and format charts to most appropriately display selected data. So we're going to start by taking a look at the data, and I'm going to be referring back to data sets A, B, and C that we've looked at in the past two tutorials. And then I'm going to show you how I select and manipulate that data to make it appear in a chart. The last portion, I'm going to take these charts for each sample set and I'm going to manipulate them. So I'm going to use some of our different formatting options to look at the variety of ways that we can then display our data in these charts. So we've used the filters to narrow the data. We've used formulas to summarize the data. Now we're going to move that selected data to a fresh spreadsheet. This step is optional. So for data set A, I am going to take our data, move it to a fresh spreadsheet, and start from scratch. In B and C, however, I'm going to show you two other ways that we can display this data in the original spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and take a look at these. All right, data set A. And here you'll see data A that we've used in tutorial 1 and 2. You'll see that we have set our data up. We've hidden some of the columns to make it a little bit easier to read. Over here in columns AN and AO, we've added student sex as well as student race. For data A, we are going to be summarizing and presenting our data according to student sex. You'll see down here, we've then broken down our data by male and female students, and we see the mastery was 72% and 77%. So the first thing that I'm going to do, in the examples that you've seen from the session, you saw some exemplar examples of what these graphs should ideally look like. And in all of these, you notice that it showed the sample set. So underneath the label of male or female, it said N equals how many males you have that you're looking at and how many females. So the first thing, so that this appears in our labels, we want to make sure that we're putting that information right here on the spreadsheet. So I'm going to start with males, and I'm going to filter for male, and I'm just going to count up how many males I have in this. So I have 12 males. So right next to male, I'm just going to enter in parentheses N equals 12. Our sample size for male is 12. I'm then going to filter by female, and we see that we have 11 females. So I'm going to do the same thing for female, but N will equal 11. Now my labels are completely set up so that everything I want to be displayed in my graph will appear. I want it to show the difference between males and females. I want it to show the mastery for each. And then I also want it to show the sample size. That's all entered right here. So for this example, I'm going to show you how to do this in a fresh spreadsheet. So I'm going to copy and paste just that basic summary of information that we've collected. I'm going to click on it, select copy, and then I'm going to open up a brand new spreadsheet. Okay. I'm going to change this to normal layout. I'm going to start up here in cell A1, and I'm just going to copy and paste this information. This is pretty small. We're going to make it a bit bigger so you can read it. There we go. Now our first step in creating a chart is to highlight or select the necessary information. Sometimes you'll be looking at a spreadsheet with a lot of numbers and information like our original one. In Excel, if you just say to create a chart, Excel isn't going to know what labels you want in that chart and what information you want displayed. So step number one is always to highlight the information you want in the chart. In this case, it's very easy and clear for us. The only information in this entire spreadsheet is what we want to appear. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight cells A1, B1, A2, and B2. Okay. Once I've selected the data that I want to appear in my chart, I'm going to head up to our menu options at the top. Under Insert, I will find an option that says Chart. Now Excel makes this process pretty easy for us. It's going to walk us through step by step the basics of creating a chart. After we've done that, I am going to go back and show you how you can make changes and adjust the formatting later. So the first thing that pops up are all the different chart options that Excel gives us. We see column charts, bar charts, line charts, pie charts, etc. For the data that we're going to be looking at, column and bar charts are going to almost always be the chart that's most helpful. These allow us to compare different groups of information. So in this example, we're comparing male student achievement and female student achievement. Now, even you'll see in the column, we have 7 different options for kind of charts. Most of this is just the way that it appears. The first couple are the most simple. We then have 2D and 3D looking charts. So I'm going to stick with a simple one. I'm just going to go with the first option. And then I'll click Next, and Excel will continue to walk me through the process. You'll see here it shows us a small sample of what this will look like. You can change it either rows or columns. Columns separated and put the labels here at the bottom, which is what I prefer. So I'm going to select columns, and then I'm going to click Next. Now it's going to give us an option to title our chart. I'm going to title this Student Achievement Data by Gender. Under that, it's going to ask us for a category on the x-axis. We can absolutely add one here. In this case, the category would be gender. Sometimes it's not always required to add a category, especially when we did it the way that we did, and the labels will already show up underneath the bars. So it's going to be pretty obvious that we're looking at a bar for male and a bar for female. So if you choose to leave out gender, I think it's still going to be obvious what you're looking at. But that is how you would do it if you wanted that. On the y-axis, we then see student achievement. Again, it's percentages, and we've included student achievement in our title, so it's not always necessary to put a label here. I'm going to because this is our first example, and I want to show you what that looks like. So I'm going to enter student achievement. And then I'll select Next. Now it gives us 2 options. We can enter this as a new sheet, and it's going to add a new spreadsheet to this workbook, or we can just add it as an object in the sheet that we're already looking at. So I'm going to do that one. So I'll say Finish, and it appears right here. We see the title that we entered, Student Achievement Data by Gender. We see the x-axis label of gender, and we see the y-axis label of student achievement. You can always choose to delete this later if you want, just by selecting it and then hitting delete. Same thing with a label over here. You can also change the direction or edit it later. Okay, I'm going to leave that. Oop. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and delete that one as well. Now you'll notice that it says something over here, Series 1. That we don't need. It's not really giving us any additional information about what readers are looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that as well and spread the chart out a little bit more. Now you'll notice that our formatting palette here on the right has changed from when we were originally entering our data. And now all of our options are applying to the chart that we see here. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to change, if you would like to, is on the y-axis you'll see the student achievement numbers. And you'll notice that it starts at 69%. The reason they do this is because they want to show the differences between the 2 groups. And both males and females had at least 69% mastery, so they decided to start the y-axis there. However, if you wanted to start yours at 0%, that's a pretty easy thing to change. You're going to double-click on the chart, and you're going to get a bunch of formatting options. Automatically, it showed up scale because I clicked actually on the scale here on the left. And it shows that our minimum right now is set at 69. If I wanted to change that to start at 0, I would delete the 69 and I would put 0, 0. Okay. You'll also notice that right now the maximum is set at 78 because students did not perform over 78% mastery. If I wanted to change that to 100, I would say 1.00 and watch what happens to our graph. Okay. It made those changes, but you'll notice that the difference between the 2 bars is actually pretty minimal. So it's a little bit harder to see what did students actually score. This is why Excel automatically started it at 69 where you saw a more drastic difference. Okay.